Good morning. Welcome back to the channel. I'm the GM Philosopher, and today we are discussing how this ancient Chinese philosophy might help you to solve a number of problems. Do you deal with rigidity and over-preparation problems only to have the players not follow your meticulously well thought out plans, leading to frustration? Do players do unexpected things that throw you for a loop? Do you tend to get burnt out because of this? Do players not seem quite as engaged when you try to orchestrate your very well thought out plot lines? Do you often feel that it's difficult to balance plotline creations with improvisation and spontaneity? Do you sometimes feel that the pacing of your games is a little bit square or not super smooth? Well, today we're going to solve all of these problems with an ancient Chinese philosophy of Taoism and its concept of the Tao, or the Way. We're going to discuss how going with the flow using this philosophy can make your storytelling more dynamic, responsive, and enjoyable for both you and your players. Let's dive right in and talk about it. Good morning, awesome people. Welcome back to the channel. I'm the GM Philosopher. Listen, it can feel very frustrating when your games do not go as expected. This can lead to frustration, burnout. It can lead to mental fatigue. As a GM, we always have this sort of dynamic choice to make between session prep and improvisation. And while session prep can be really awesome and it can do a whole bunch of great things for your campaign, we all know that it can also lead to some new problems. For example, what if players do not want to follow the stuff you prepared? What if players do unexpected, wild stuff that you never saw coming? Come on, like D&D players never do unexpected stuff, right? Well, as it turns out, the philosophy of Taoism actually helps us to solve this problem by delving into a concept called the Tao, or the Way. The essence of the Taoist philosophy centers on living in harmony with the Tao, or the Way, which is the fundamental natural order of the universe. Okay? Taoism teaches that by embracing simplicity, spontaneity, and the concept of non-action, individuals can align themselves with the natural flow of life. This alignment allows us to move effortlessly through the world, achieving balance, inner peace, and harmony with nature. Or in this case, the D&D game. The ultimate aim is to live authentically and effortlessly, minimizing struggle and resistance by flowing with the inherent rhythms of the universe, the way the game is going, rather than against them. And this is really where the value of this philosophy comes into play with D&D. Now, before we dive into this and I give you the steps, I want you to smash that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, and drop me a comment. Let me know how you handle the way when it comes to running games and how you find a way to achieve natural rhythm and flow without falling to frustration or burnout or blocky pacing. Also, you're going to want to stick around to the end because I have a couple things to share with you that you're not going to want to miss out on. All right, now let's dive into how to use this philosophy to help you make your D&D games better. Now, there are a number of different ways that you could use the concept of the Way to help make your games feel more natural with a smoother flow to them and to reduce some of that fatigue, burnout, frustration that can come from spending all that time in planning and have it not really go anywhere, at least not anywhere you planned. Was there ever a GM who planned for his party to burn down the first tavern they go into? Yeah, and yet it happens a lot more than we would think, which would lead me to believe that this is maybe a natural progression that many parties fall into. Perhaps you could even describe this as one of the ways of the universe. So here are some steps you can take to use this philosophy to help you, and I'm going to try to give you some great examples from my own experiences. Number one, flexible planning is really a massive key to this, okay? You can prepare loose frameworks. Instead of scripting every detail, you can outline key plot points that can be reached through various paths. You can also anticipate divergence, be ready for your players to think outside the box and have alternative scenarios in mind. This does raise a question about whether to completely sandbox or whether to actually have plot points. There are some GMs who believe that if you create plot points and put them in front of players, no matter which way they go, then there really is no such thing as free choice. With that being said, the players won't really know that, will they? Hence, an interesting and ironic play on what is perhaps an illusion of free choice that we have in our world. For example, there are those who would say that humans don't really have free will. We are slaves to our brain chemical processes, and we kind of just are going to do the things we're going to do because of the brain chemicals, and we just think that we have the choice. when in reality, we were always going to make that choice anyway. There are also those who believe in destiny and that there are certain paths laid out for us in this life. Now, regardless of which way you go with this, whether it be completely sandbox or whether it be that you go ahead and create those plot points and place them strategically ahead of your chaotic party, the idea of flexible planning can help to minimize that frustration and friction. For example, and this is exactly how I would do it. I would try to let my characters explain to me what they want. For example, I've had this plot point where there's this general of Scalethar the Red, an evil, ancient red dragon god who's been basically chasing the party, but the party seems like they don't really want to enter this conflict. They seem to kind of keep running away from it, which leads me to ask myself the question, do they even want to be in this plot arc? So in the last session, this general basically made himself appear before them in a diplomatic bid for peace. He basically said, listen, I can sense that there is great destiny upon you. Thus, I will give you three choices. Either you remove yourself from this conflict and appear never again in it, or you join me and fight alongside me for our great Scalethar the Red, which the players do not want to do, by the way, because he's a bad guy. Or you can make it clear that you intend to face me in this conflict, and we shall settle this here and now. And so basically what he was doing was getting to the bottom of this, and just simply wiping out the characters just willy-nilly isn't really what he wants, because he does have this idea that they might fight alongside him. But what I was doing was I was trying to give the players a choice to let them tell me what they want. I said this out loud to the players during this. I said, listen, this is also me as the GM letting you know that if you do not want to be in the Scalethar the Red like storyline, I will respect that. And, if you kind of say, now we want to do other things, that's totally fine. See, so I was proposing some plot points that they could pursue with the complete willingness to remove those plot points if they do not really serve the desires of the group. So that's how I handle this types of thing. And to me, this is so much better. It helps me to flow with the game in the natural direction of the universe. And it really helps me not to get tied down to specific plans, especially when those plans may be at odds with what the party wants. This really reinforces a few Taoist principles that are built into the framework of that solution and that approach. For example, active listening, engaging with players, paying close attention to what they want, and adapting NPC reactions to respond naturally to the party's actions, even if they alter your original plan. See, allowing the players to be the center point of the story, following that story, and letting that be the natural flow is actually following the universe. And that leads us to our next point, which is embrace the unexpected. See obstacles as opportunities. When players derail your plans, view it as a chance to explore new narrative avenues and encourage player agency. Allow players to influence the story. This strengthens their investment and their enjoyment. So for me, the way that I go about this is by actively engaging the players and trying to get a sense of what they really want to do. For example, right now they are at sea. They have two ships. This big, Dragonborn general guy just left because basically they told him we're leaving the conflict. Now, after he left, they said, we're not really leaving the conflict. We're going to build up and we're going to fight Scalethar. This is what they kind of decided to do, which is fine with me because they were able to kind of get out of that situation. They rolled some deception checks. They were able to get out of it. Now they have a plan and I kind of understand what they want to do. And it turns out that they're making plans to maybe go to this faraway city, maybe even buy a castle, maybe build themselves an army with kind of all the treasure they've amassed. So from this interaction, I was able to gauge the way that they wanted to go in. I was able to gauge the natural flow. I was able to tap into the energy that is driving player actions and the outcomes that they kind of look forward to and want to see happen. And this helps me as a GM to do a couple things. If I had, first of all, plans to have plot points that were running against the grain of these desires, I would know right away, these are not going to work. They're not going to be for the best interest of the game and its natural flow. So I'm going to either repurpose them or just, let them go and develop new things. See, now my mind is working more in line with the flow of what the players want. Secondly, this helps me to sort of curate NPC reactions that will flow with the group as well. For example, I don't want NPCs to be starting stuff that's just going to go against the group in a way that isn't adding to the game in a positive way. Some NPCs may not want to go on this path and they may fall away from the party. Some NPCs may be emboldened. They may feel empowered by this decision. The ones who really oppose Scaleth are the red, and they may want to double down in their loyalty or in their action, or this may be the beginning of a new arc for some of the NPCs where they buddy up with the PCs with a very like same-mindedness, and that can kind of bolster the fun. And there can also be some drama in that because they might disagree, or they might want more power or more authority, or they might want bigger and better weapons, or maybe they want the party to make slightly different choices and disagree with the whole strategy of how to accomplish the thing. And this leads to kind of some fun drama where the players always like argue with NPCs. And it's a fun time. With that being said, this helps me to avoid just going against the grain in a frustrating manner with my NPCs. And so that really brings us to a conclusion about how I would use this way of Taoism, this Taoist philosophy of the way to shape my role-playing GM style in such a way that it flows naturally with the players and we do not end up at odds with each other, feeling frustrated. And it really comes down to being flexible, being open, taking action, but action that flows with the way of the universe, and being communicative and understanding what the way truly is. Because D&D is unique in that it is an active storytelling adventure, and it's all been created in the minds of the humans involved. And so to tap into the true way, I must tap into the minds of the people creating it, which includes all the players at the table. It also includes me, but for me, it's really important to understand all the players at the table. And that's going to be it. I hope that this has been interesting for you to listen to. I hope you'll drop me a comment. Let me know what you think about it. With that being said, I have a couple things I want to offer you. Number one, I have a book called The Ultimate Plot Randomizer. You can random roll plot arcs on the fly, anytime, in seconds, using 4 D100 tables. You can roll the hook, the conflict, the conclusion, and even add wild and wacky elements. Keep your players guessing. When you sign up for my email list, link in the description, you get this ebook for free. So I encourage you to download that and use it, print it out, keep it with your stuff. It's awesome. I also want to invite you to join my Discord. It's free. We have all kinds of awesome people coming in there, sharing art, starting their own D&D games in there. We've got games looking for players, players looking for games, people running games. We discuss philosophy. We discuss all kinds of stuff in there. We share music. Come join us. It's a great time. If you love D&D and you love Discord, you're going to want to stop by and at least say hi and hang out with us. And that's going to be a wrap. Thank you so much for coming back for another episode of GM Philosophy in the Morning. I'm here almost every day creating videos about the best game in the world, D&D. So I will see you awesome people on the next one.